Hi everyone and welcome to our first build video on counter-offensive miniatures. What are we going to be building? Well, here we are, here's the box, the Grand Cathay battalion. Don't get too excited, we're not going to build a whole box in this video. We're just going to build one little model, okay? And then what we'll do is if this seems to get a little bit of interest, we'll do the similar. We'll build another one, just so people get to see what they are, and then in time we'll get some painted up for, and bits and pieces. But for now, yeah, let's take a look at what it's going to be. Well, I'm sure you've seen a lot of this floating about right now, but yeah, it's going to be one of these actual Jade Warriors here, okay? And then what we're going to do is going to be you'll have a little look. There's one on the right hand corner, and it's going to have a shield and it's going to have a sword. All right, so let's just switch across back to the box. Now before we do any building, the first thing you really need to do is actually determine what war gear are you going to actually have. Let's have a little look at the Arcane Journal, which is here. See if we can find the page, shall we? Here we go. So Jade Warriors. So we've decided that we're going to be making the one with the shield and the sword. So just make sure that we've got this correct here. So the options on the war gear down here is the entire unit must take one of the following, which is the halberds or the shields. The halberds, very much don't pronounce that correctly, basically a spear. That is one of the other models, and I'll quickly show you that in the instructions. That is this one. We're not going to be making this one today, we're going to be making this one here, okay? And if this gets any interest at all on YouTube, then we'll do another video on this particular one here. All right, so just to double check, it's always worth double checking in the journal that it makes sense, all right, because before you rattle in across all of these models within this with these instructions, you might not want to have a standard bearer in every unit. You might not want to have a musician, okay? So it's really important that you make that decision on what you're going to have. All right, I'll be honest with you, we haven't yet, but what we do know is we need at least one Jade Warrior. So I think we're going to be fine. All right, let's take a little look at the tools that we're going to need. Okay, so what tools am I using today in this video? I'm going to be using some cutters, I'm going to be using a mold line remover tool, and I'm going to be using some glue. You can use any brand you like, these are just the ones I have. So obviously before you get going, it's always good to have a read of the instructions. Make sure you know what you're doing as a couple of steps ahead, okay? Have a little look, because when you look at these instructions, the actual the first, I think it's like 1A 1B, that is the general. However, that body is used for a lot of the Jade Warriors, if not the main base of the Jade Warriors by the look of it. It's only really sort of the musician and the standard bearer where they seem to have different sort of bodies and that. So yeah, just have a little sort of, make sure you check it. As you can see here, I'm just trimming everything else up. If I was going to be doing multiple sort of people, I wouldn't have cut a load up there, because you just end up getting the right model with the bits and pieces. Here I'm using the mold line remover just to sort of tidy up some of the areas. I think Games Workshop have got a new variant of that now. I mean, I've had that one absolutely eons, you know, years and years. Same as the cutters, to be honest, but they last, they work. Yeah, so just make sure you tidy it all up. Okay, so this is the begging moment. Please like, subscribe, and hit that bell. By hitting the bell, you'll get notifications. By actually subscribing, it doesn't cost you anything. It just helps us grow, helps us get a little bit more seen too. The more we grow, the more we're able to invest in it. Yeah, look, here we go. So these instructions, I absolutely love Games Workshop instructions. Nice little bit of yellow there, just showing where you want the glue. So don't go mad with the glue. Use it sparingly and just around the edge where those yellow bits were highlighted. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting this all painted. I'll share some stuff with you. You know, I'm not the best painter in the world, and I follow a lot of people online, and just sort of, I think what I might do with these is see if I can just research some sort of quick, but like nice, quick sort of ways of doing it. I've not really used the contrast paints and that. Put some comments and that, please, down below. So let me know what you think. Any recommendations which can help. I'm not horrific at painting, but just I wouldn't sort of just go showing everyone what an amazing job I've done. I think what I will do is once I've actually researched sort of like some painting methods, I might as well just do a video on it, for all to sort of rip. But yeah, look, this is the next bit here, me trying to get his wonky foot on there. I don't know how you find it, but sometimes you get these little sort of notches and stuff, and it's always a little bit of a job just to work out exactly where that sits in. You would thought that it would just be quite straightforward, but sometimes it just I mean, there I think I adjust it again because it looks like he's standing like a penguin a little bit. Yeah, so moving on to, so that's the actual first 1A and 1B is on the other page. I'm now switching over to build the actual sort of the warrior itself with the shield and the sword. Here he is. He's got it's like a little sort of, it looks like a little gunpowder pouch and that, which I don't know, or whether it's, I don't know, could have his cash in, maybe. I don't really know. Yeah, but that was a little bit of a job just to work out where that sort of goes. It says at the back, and it's got actually a little hole in the pouch, but I couldn't actually locate like a little notch for it to sit on. So I eventually just sort of found a spot where I think it looked about right. And maybe that's the idea, is so it gives you a little bit of a sort of like a variance across the models, I would have thought, but I certainly couldn't find a notch for it. So once I got that pouch on, I did leave that to dry a little bit, because the leg kept on moving about and the pouch wasn't sort of, yeah, it just was annoying me. So yeah, I went on to once that dried, I then went on to do the head. You've got a couple of choices that you can select of that, and then they've got like a nice, top knot, but their hair, what goes on the top there. I mean, these models are amazing, really, and they're going to look so cool. Here I am just trying to put that top knot on. I hadn't let the head dry properly at all. Once again, Mr. Impatient, trying to put that on. Now I decide to actually leave it to dry instead of probably just doing the head then doing the top knot. Yeah. So this is me just sort of just trying to work out. Okay, right. Look. So you see where I looked at that that pouch and the webbing and that is actually the wrong one. So I did sort of redo it and put the correct one on. Now it's worth noting that on the instructions you'll see a red sort of, that the handle is actually red on the instructions. They're actually saying chop that off when you're doing a certain particular model, and that is obviously when the model's got the sword in its hand. So that's quite cool. So you can sort of choose to let it have the sword away or actually out, but I recommend you cutting that prior. Here, look, this is where I actually did stick the wrong one onto it. At a later date I did get the correct one and trim that and stick that on. You probably might see the arms, get them prepped and that. how's everyone getting on with the rules and that? Any new people on here who's starting to get into Old World? Um, I started to read it all. I'm still on the movement. I keep sort of start doing little bits and pieces in the evenings, or whenever I find a little bit of chance. Um, I think what was it, 18 pages? I think it is. However, there's some great stuff. One thing I found really interesting was the fact is that the charge is pretty much, declaring charges, and that is actually at the start of the movement phase, which, be sort of. I mean, played. I've only really played 40k since middle of last year, and I played 40k and fantasy when I was a kid, so it's been a long time, I can tell you that. Um, so actually, when I'm reading this, it's definitely different to 40k, but I do like that. I like that concept that charges are happening, and then sort of, by the look of it, standard moves. That's how I'm reading it. Is at the end, after sort of ones where you can't move. I can't remember what the terminology is for that. But anyway, so back to the video. So just now getting on the other arm. Took a little bit of sort of just trying to align them once again. It's those little notches. I got it there. Then I thought, well, no, I need to just adjust that a little bit. The gap looked too big up the top there. But the way the shoulder pad or the armor is on the top there, it does actually have a bit of a gap. Well, that's what it looked like. I started putting the sword on as me sort of just whacking it on, sort of like "Roar" in the air, but actually, really, it was meant to be low down. But I sort of messed about with that a little bit. I think they end up making it a little bit lower as per how it should be in the picture. Really, actually, read the instructions. So yeah, the more I started putting it together, the more I was like, oh, this is so cool. So cool. Um, Here it is. I think that's everything done on it basically, apart from the shield. Just need to get that on there. I then sort of let that dry for a little bit before I went onto the shield. I think I might add another brew, to be honest with you. Yeah, square bases. Do you know what? That has been 30 years since I actually stuck a model on a square base. Yeah, like unbelievable, really, actually, isn't it? The fact is that there's been 30 years. A lot has happened in 30 years, I can tell thee. There we are. So that's the shield. That's the shield on the Jade Warrior. Just putting a little bit of sticky glue on the feet there. Stick that on there, and that's done. Well, so I hope you found that helpful. If you did, like, subscribe, hit the old bell, and you should get more content. Cheers. Bye.